Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to TrepTalks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Elliot Bishton to the show. Elliot is the founder of Engravers Guild of London, an online personalized gift retailer and that curates and finishes beautiful gifts such as engraved hip flasks, silver cufflinks, jewelry, and fragrances. And today I'm going to ask Elliot a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So, Elliot, thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talk. Really, really appreciate your time, and thanks for the opportunity.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure to speak with you.
So, a very interesting business. I believe it's still relatively new. Can you share a little bit about your story? What were you doing before starting this business, and how did you really get the idea?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess a good place to start would be winding back almost 15 years, which is when my father had a company making watches in Birmingham. And my family actually has a bit of a heritage in manufacturing in the UK. In the Victorian times, Birmingham was known as the workshop of the world, and we sold out small kind of metalware pieces to all the four corners of the globe. And my family was sort of part of that for 100 years or so. But in 2009, that kind of all came to an end. And I remember walking into sort of this empty factory, but still with all the machinery around. And I thought, what a shame it was that kind of it's all sort of for the scrap heap now. But then I thought, well, come on, Elliot, you're meant to be sort of an enterprising sort of guy. What can you create out of the embers of what was, a good business? So I looked at all the machines and I didn't know what any of them did, apart from one machine, which was an engraving machine. So I kind of took that home and put it in the loft and kept that, and thought that I could create a business that's centered around engraving. But it kind of went on the back burner for a long time, as I just then finished university and I moved to London, and I got a job working in corporate PR. So I did that for the next sort of 7 years. And then I remember on my 30th birthday, which was 7 years ago, I handed in my notice and thought, right, well, if I'm ever going to try it, now's going to be the time. So I'll try and create my own business. And so I dusted off the engraving machine again and thought, let's try and start selling some personalized items. So that was how it started. And I literally started, set up on the kitchen table in my mom and dad's house, and listed some products online and started from there.
Awesome. I mean, a little bit of I guess, a sad story around manufacturing, I guess. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, is it really pure economics that, now China and Southeast Asia are kind of, their economics is better in terms of being the manufacturing center for the world?
Yeah.
And is it
Look, I
ever
think
going to come back?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a sadness around a decline of around vibrant activity. But I also think that business is cyclical and it's always changing. And with that change comes opportunity. And if the UK was better at manufacturing some things than China, then we'd still be manufacturing it. But we're not. And for the cost and the price, we can't compete on some things. So you have to adapt and sort of see what else you can do. And we move into sort of other services. And I don't think anyone in the UK would really want to go back to the kind of manufacturing core and the lifestyles that it provided in the sort of 70s and 80s. So there's not too much sadness that I have about it. But I have to say, what China and what India and what those countries can produce is just unbelievable. And, the skill and the quality, I think, is really fantastic on some things. So I have to give them credit for that.
For sure. I know you mentioned that it took you a little bit of time from, when you initially had the idea looking at your engraving machine and, the time you actually got started, actually started your business. And that's kind of a dilemma. That's kind of the entrepreneurship dilemma, right? Like some people are entrepreneurs and they're okay, more comfortable with risk. Other people, you know, more risk averse. What kind of stopped you? Was it really risk that kind of prevented you from uh, acting on your idea initially?
Yeah.
And what
So,
changed?
so yeah, I am convinced that if I started my business, the year that I came up with the idea for it, I would be a multi millionaire now. I think that there are waves that things happen, and I picked up on it but if I was 3 years ahead, I'd have really kind of caught the crest of the wave, and I think I'd have surfed, pretty well, and would have, got to where I am right now much faster, much more cheaply. So there is disappointment around that. But equally at the same time, I probably wouldn't have had that, big city corporate lifestyle, which I feel probably a bit of a richer person for having experienced it now. So it kind of comes two sides of the coin. And I think I probably learned things that I'm able to bring to the business that I'm trying to create now. And it's definitely a different business I'm trying to create now, having worked in London and, with great minds and great people, then should I have just left university and tried to start straight away? But yeah, it's always the entrepreneur's dilemma. When do they go for it? I think, certain things need to align. Different people have different risk tolerances. And just kind of, the situation where I was at that time in my life and starting out kind of early on my career, I'm not too disappointed that I left it a little later than perhaps would have been ideal. But having said that, actually in those intervening years, I didn't kind of neglect it entirely. And I think, everything takes longer than you think when you start something. And I put in motion, the beginnings of creating a website and sourcing product. And it just takes time. So even if, there was an intervening sort of 6 years, for the last 2 years of that, though, I was still kind of looking into it and waiting for things to happen. I can never understand myself when I read these stories of successful entrepreneurs and they say, oh, I came up with the idea in September and by October I'd turned over $400,000. I don't know how they do it. I mean, maybe on these old drop shipping methods, people were able to do it, but it just takes a long time. I think, if when we try and create a new product, I'm sure other people can do it faster than us. But when you go through the iterations and the design and the waiting for samples and the first production run and then the shipping, usually from China, it's a year. So, although there were 6 years between me finishing university and starting my business, there were at least a couple of years that things were sort of beginning, but it just takes so long. And especially if you're going towards products that are, really kind of, a bit more advanced and, have a lot of technology in them. I don't know how people get them off the ground so quickly, but so, that was my story on starting.
I mean, to be honest, like I haven't come across any entrepreneur who has started business. I mean, usually it's like you see the tip of the iceberg, right? So you kind of see the success, but it's usually a lot of work in the back end in the previous life, or there's a lot that's leading up to that success. So I think it's either rare or it's almost impossible that you're starting a business and you're successful from the get-go. How do you see your business now? Can you talk a little bit about your product and what is really the value proposition? Do you see your business really a personalization business? So you have these products and you're kind of engraving them, personalizing them. Is that really the value proposition that you're offering?
Yeah, so I think we're in quite an interesting space in terms of ecom, and especially branded ecom, because we're actually I consider Engravers Guild a retailer. So where, most stories that you read about successful ecom players are people that have sourced the product directly from China and they're selling it at a great markup and putting a complete branded proposition around it. We're a bit different in that we actually take products from lots of other people. Like we've got Hugo Boss leatherware, we've got Michael Kors watches, we've got Paul Smith perfumes, and we try and kind of put our value add by personalizing it, doing it in a quick turnaround, and presenting it really beautifully. Now, it has advantages in some ways, in that you can source product without having to put the product development together. So that's a bit quicker. But the disadvantage of it is that the markups are really challenging, especially when you get into kind of designer labels. They barely give you any room to work with at all. And so when you're trying to kind of drive people to your website, it's hard to cover the advertising and marketing to build those costs in to your sale. So we've got that side of the business where we do source other people's products, but we also complement it with, I'd say, like our own branded stuff, which is under Engravers Guild. Under Engravers Guild, and also other names that we have created to try and present, a bit more of a value proposition. So, for example, we were sourcing lots of pocket watches from other brands, and we were able to get a 2x markup at best. But then alongside it, we went to China and sourced our own pocket watches. We didn't call them Engravers Guild because we want Engravers Guild to be considered a retailer. We called them Cluely, but that's irrelevant. It's the fact that it's another brand. And then we've got like a 4 to 5x markup on those products. And I think that's really the only way our business works, in having the two kind of operations working hand in hand. We'll probably come on to a bit more later, but the way we drive our traffic is pretty much entirely through Google AdWords. So when people search for a product and we show our results for it and pay that money to get people onto our webpage, we really have to be trying to satisfy as much of their purchase intent as possible. So unfortunately, we can't be incredibly niche in the products that we offer. So we have to try and be the best destination for a personalized pocket watch or hip flask or handbag or rucksack. So we have to offer our own brands alongside other people's brands.
So that's very interesting. So your target market, and as you said, your primary marketing is Google Ads. Is this really a gifting kind of a product? So they're searching for, gift for, Father's Day gift or Mother's Day gift or something like that. And then your ad comes up alongside other people's or other businesses' ads, but your value proposition is personalize it. Is that really the journey? And who exactly is your target customer?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. We are entirely a gifting proposition. I think I would say more than 99.8% of our sales are for gifts. And we offer complimentary gift cards, and we present, gift packaging and stuff like that. Now, the challenge in gifting is that the person who is buying it for somebody else. So it's not as though the purchaser is buying into that branded proposition. They're thinking of what somebody else would like. So once they have purchased from you, they probably don't have that much interest in what you're able to offer. And I know marketers would disagree with me. They'd say, no, there's still scope to build community and stuff like that. And we do try to do that. But I've worked with a dozen or so marketers, I would say, in the last 4 or 5 years. And they've all come to me saying, oh, no, we can build this community, we can build this proposition. And not one of them has really been able to move the needle on that. So that is a challenge. Now, the other thing you said is that, for example, if somebody searches for Father's Day gift, your advert comes up for that. And actually, at the moment, probably not for the search term Father's Day gift, because you don't know what that person really is trying to search for. They could be looking for an £8 key ring, or they could be looking for a £400 silver platter. And so for us to convert those key terms, we just can't do it. I think, to be able to do that, you've got to have, we've probably got 1,500 to 2,000 different SKUs at the moment. And I think you'd need at least 3 times that to be able to cost effectively cater to the search term and pay for it Father's Day gift. Now, we might be able to do a bit better on the search term personalized Father's Day gift, but still we find it difficult to make those numbers work. So actually, we're still kind of pretty much kind of contained to the search terms for a specific item. So, you know, a necklace or a ring or a pen or something like that. And, you know, there's a lot of people searching for personalized items like that. And I guess our longer term vision, though, is to try and break out from being a destination for specific personalized items to more of a gifting destination. It's a long journey, and I think we've made good progress in the last couple of years, but there's still a long way to go so far. Yeah.
I'm on your website, by the way, and I see, you know, you have 2 main categories, for him, for her. I think there's a category missing, which is, do you know what that could be? Well,
No,
let me tell you. Because, you know, right now we're in a very political environment. So, I think there may be a big market for gifting around pets. I think people are very attached to their pets, and I think there's a market for people who are looking for items that have like engravings around the pet names, and, you know, maybe they want to wear the ring with the pet name on that, or wear, you know, have an item that has something. Have you ever thought
yeah,
anything around that?
I think you're exactly right. Actually, my courier account manager came and visited us the other week, and they said, you know, business is quite tough at the moment, actually. But they said that the one area of boom for them is in pet suppliers, as people are still spending on their pets. So I think you're exactly right, and it is something that we are giving more attention to. But I can also say I also think it's quite a challenging market. And it also involves quite a lot of expenditure on inventory, because we just wanted to do a basic range of dog collars. But, you know, there's a big change in big size difference from a Chihuahua to a Great Dane. So for every different style of collar we wanted to offer, we had to kind of get that in 8 different sizes. So you're multiplying every SKU by 8. So that's quite a lot. And for us to be a destination to satisfy all purchaser intent, that's a lot of stock we've got to invest in. So it's something that we've got one eye on, and we're trying to work out how to kind of get a piece of the pie. But we just wanted to kind of do it in an affordable way for us.
So I think the biggest challenge probably in this business is really the competition, right? Like it's such a big market that, you know, people can find gifts, all sorts of gifts out there. There's no shortage of it. Even the products that you're selling, I think there's you know, millions or billions, even billions of items out there. And maybe a billion is a pretty big number, but is that really the big challenge that that you're kind of working against?
Yeah, I think the big challenge for all online players is getting people to your website in an affordable way. I mean, it is so hard. And our biggest competitors now are eBay, Etsy, which you'll know of in the States and Canada. There's UK ones called Not on the High Street, which, you know, turn over hundreds of millions every year. And it's really hard to compete against those. Etsy, I'm pretty convinced, is really built on people not really making money, selling nice items from home. You know, there are a lot of Etsy sellers that do make money, don't get me wrong. But when I look at some of the prices that people are selling for, I just don't know how they can really do that in an affordable way. I think the affordable way is that they're one-man operations doing it from home on their kitchen table with no overheads, no labor costs, and nothing like that. But that makes it hard for, you know, players like me, who's trying to kind of keep people employed and have got all the overheads and things like that. But it leaves, you know, a lot of businesses really struggling to work out how they can get people to their website, competing with the low prices on these marketplaces, and differentiating themselves as well. Actually, my long-term view is that online retail for small players is pretty much, I think, going to die in the next 5 to 6 years, 5, 6, 7 years, because I think that you need such huge economies of scale to be able to make an operation work. And what you're going to see is big groups buying up lots of small companies, and within their portfolio, they'll have their certain propositions which will complement each other, and they will benefit from one huge warehouse and one huge distribution network and one central operation. And small players will almost not be able to cope and compete against that. And I'm very mindful of that, for my business. I think the one advantage in a way that we have is that our stuff is personalized. It requires unbelievable amounts of labor and application. If we send out 10,000 items, each of those 10,000 items is different. And the attention to detail you have to give to every one is, I'd say just off the chart. And for a massive company, unless they can really commoditize the personalization process, I don't know if they would kind of think it's worth it for them. So that's one sort of small advantage that we have. But I think that small players getting people to their websites cost effectively in the next 5 years is almost going to be unheard of. Because I think, to just summarize, you're going to be competing against big brands that don't really look for a return on investment on their ads, an immediate return on their an immediate return on their advertising spend. And they'll be looking at it on a 5-year lifetime value proposition, which small companies can't, hope to exist on that basis for long. And I think that they'll consider, space on Facebook and Instagram as brand building, which, we haven't got really the budget for brand building, but we've got a bit of a budget for sales generation. And I think that invariably those platforms will not be existing for sales generation. They'll just be existing for brand building. And that's going to be almost impossible for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that may have a big impact in the next 5 to 10 years is really the AI and all the marketing technology and targeting technology that's going to come out of this. Maybe the marketing world is going to look very different, where it becomes, rather than the retailer driving the marketing, it almost becomes consumer centric. The consumer says to the AI, I want this kind of a gift within this price range, and AI kind of suggest out of all these, the best possible option. Maybe there's a local retailer that has the cheapest price with the best option that meets their criteria. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting time to see how things are going to play out in the next 5-10 years. I'm very interested to know, given that you mentioned the whole personalization value proposition, what exactly does it? Can you talk a little bit more about, after you get the order, what exactly, how do you engrave, how do you personalize the item, how you package it? Can you talk me through the whole process and what kind of effort that goes into that?
Yeah, sure. So somebody places the order online, and that will get automatically printed and fed out in our workshop. And then it comes with all the codes on. So it will be scanned at an engraving station. And I mean, the secret, I think, with personalization businesses, or the key to success with personalization businesses, is to automate as much as possible on the fulfillment of the item. So every product that we sell has been pre-programmed on our machines, and also jigs have been made. So a jig is something that holds it in such a way so that you can achieve the same result every time. So somebody will take the order, they'll find the item off the shelf, they'll scan it, it will tell them what to do, how to engrave it, and then the machine will sort of bring up the text that needs to be engraved in the item, and they'll position it in just the right way, and then they'll press the button for the item to be engraved. We don't hand engrave our items. Some people kind of think we do. But, you know, when we're selling something, you know, an engraved glass for £8 or something, there's absolutely no way on earth that you could be hand engraving that and spending all that time, you know, filling it in and stuff. But we do a very nice job with our sort of traditional diamond cut engraving machines. So once it's engraved, it'll then go to a packing station. We've got dozens and dozens of different packing options for all the different kind of variable products that we have. And it will be packaged nicely and presented and put in a box, scanned again for an address label. The label put on, and the courier will collect it later in the day. So one thing that we do offer is a next day delivery service on all personalized items. And so, you know, we're really trying to kind of be that destination of convenience, and just make the whole thing easy. I actually remember when you know, years ago, before I started my business, I thought I would get my then girlfriend a nice item, which was a bottle of perfume, and try and elevate that gift by getting something nice engraved on it, and then try and elevate it again by getting some nice packaging. And you know, the whole process on Oxford Street on some, you know, afternoon probably took me about 3.5 hours. So now we've condensed that to the customer to, you know, a matter of minutes, still with the same convenience, and actually for a much better price than I would have had to pay when I got all 3 parts done separately on Oxford Street. So I think there's definitely value in that for a customer.
I think that's a huge value. Yeah, save time is a huge value for sure. Can you talk a little bit about when you got started? I think I read somewhere that you got started with like only a few items. And was there a certain idea validation process, you know, when you got your first customer, that kind of gave you the confidence to add other product lines? How did you get your first customers? And, you know, can you talk a little bit about the beginning of the business?
So we started with 6 pairs of cufflinks when we began, which I don't think would be possible now. And I just literally put them online. I mean, thinking back, I was pretty fresh and clueless. But I had this website built, I had the products listed, and I kind of just left it there. And I was,
so you didn't try it first on like eBay or Etsy. Like you basically created your website and put that on the website.
Yeah.
Which is daring, because, you know, you have to drive the traffic to your website. But
yeah, well, if I'd have known that at the time, I might not have done it. But so I put those six pairs of cufflinks on. I had this website built, and this was in the day. This would have been in like 2015, 2016, and I don't know if Shopify was around then. I mean, I've built websites on Shopify since, but I didn't know Shopify existed. So I actually paid a developer to build this website for me from scratch. Wow. And then I was sort of under the belief or the impression that, oh, there's billions of people floating around the internet finding all these obscure web pages. So, you know, I'll just sell stuff, which didn't quite happen. So I, you know, put the stuff on and I launched the website, and I, you know, watched my, you know, Google Analytics kind of traffic counter, and it said that lots of people were coming. I'm sure that they were all bots and things, and but no sales arose, none at all. And then actually a number of weeks later, I just got a ping on an email saying, "Oh, you've sold something." And, you know, it was like, what a high that I just sold something. I'd almost kind of forgotten about it. And I don't know what spurred me to do it, but I put some money behind some Google ads and managed to sell, you know, a few £1,000s of stuff in the next few weeks. And I guess that was what gave me the confidence to think, well, maybe there's something there. I'll quit my job and give it a go.
That is, yeah, I think only an entrepreneur can experience the joy that you get when you make that first sale. I remember when I started my e-commerce website way back, and it was similar kind of a story. I put the products out there, and uh, nothing happened for like 2 3 months, and then all of a sudden one night I see a sale, and I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
No, I think that was probably like one of the highest happiness moment of my life. Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that validation is amazing, isn't it? All that work, and well, that's what it feels like. One sale feels like a validation at that point, even though if that was all that came, you'd lose a lot of money. But yeah, it's certainly a great high.
do you have a channel strategy? Are you 100% selling out of your website? I know there's a little bit of a complication because you need the engraving text, but are you selling on any marketplaces?
So we do sell on Etsy, and we do in the UK sell on the high street, and we have set up an Amazon account. And I have to say, kind of going in, we did all these in the last 1 to 2 years, as we just thought it's something we should do. We're giving up free sales. And I was never totally convinced in them for us when beginning. And I have to say, they've barely resulted in anything for us. And those that have, year on year, I think we've almost seen a halving of our sales on other platforms. I think we were maybe picked up on the end of the post-COVID boom in online retail on those other platforms. And since then, we've just seen sales dwindle and trundle away. So they're not a big emphasis for us whatsoever. And there just seems to be so much product. It's so hard to get visibility, which is the story of ecom, really.
Yeah, very, very true. Um, I completely forgot the question I was going to ask. But in terms of marketing, can we talk a little bit more about marketing? So you're purely or primarily on Google Ads. Have you tried, because I mean, to me, it seems like this is your business probably revolves a lot around seasonality, right? So you have, events like Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's, Christmas, and so forth. I mean, I'm sure you kind of focus your marketing budget around those events. Have you also tried other marketing channels like social media, organic social media, or have you invested at all in SEO?
Yeah, so I've done all those things, which I sort of touched on earlier, and we invested quite a lot. We even took on an SEO. So I can go through almost each channel in turn and give you my experience on it. So if we take SEO to begin with, when I was creating the website, I did read quite a lot around SEO, and I feel as though our website was optimized as good as it could be. And I got it to a certain level, and I also managed to get, various links from other websites and stuff. And I think we got it to a domain score of 20 or 22, maybe a bit higher, maybe sort of 25 actually. And I thought, well, let's really try and take it to the next stage. And we brought in an SEO agency, and they were meant to get us, better quality backlinks and things like that. And they got one or two, but for the amount of money that I thought we had to spend to get them, I thought it was a poor return. But I'm going to add alongside that, even though we were increasing our domain score and we were appearing for more keywords, like thousands of more keywords, our organic clicks were just going down and down and down and down, even though our ranking was holding pretty true. And we were in the top, 1 to 3 for quite a few main keywords. And I just think that people are not getting down to the organic listings on Google anymore. They have to scroll through loads of shopping feeds, through location, feeds, through query answers, then through the AdWords links, and then you get down to the organic listings. And so, going from a position where we were spending, a few tens of thousands of pounds a year in trying to improve our SEO position, I concluded it was just a complete waste of money because our clicks were going down. And so we basically don't do any SEO anymore, which I'm sure people would deride me for. But every term, I mean, I understand why some people who like write, rich blog content and are selling courses online and stuff like that, would put more emphasis into their SEO now. But my gut feeling was that it was barely driving a pound return for us. So I stopped it. Okay. And then our experience was pretty similar on, Instagram and Pinterest. We thought, right, we're going to put all this content out now. We're going to take our business to being the next level and the next stage. And we're going to create beautiful imagery and, little videos and stuff, which we did. And, I'll confess, they weren't great. They were not brilliant. I think, they were of the level of like 2015, 2016, 2017, that sort of content. But I thought they were decent, they were fair, but they got no visibility at all. And we found unless you were putting lots of money behind it, it just got no engagement whatsoever, which in a way doesn't surprise me because there's such good stuff on now. When I look on my feeds on Instagram and TikTok, to look at a picture of a wallet with some initials embossed on it that isn't even for me is not something I'm going to engage with. So again, we almost came to the same conclusion. We don't think we're getting any money back for all this effort that we're investing into it. So we've almost killed it. We'll do a post every once in a while just to keep it ticking over. And if someone clicks on it, they see that we're not a dead or defunct business. But that is about the limit of our activity there. We've also tried affiliate marketing. And my view of affiliate marketing is that it's one of the biggest online scams that there are. Okay, there'll be people out there who disagree, but we found that we were selling that. So we were being charged because we were being told that we were selling thousands and thousands of pounds worth of product. I've actually just been reviewing my last quarter's figures, and we spent, thousands on affiliate marketing charges. And I'm convinced that all that happened is all that when you look at where these sales are coming from, they're all these bogus discount codes websites that, somebody's probably going to buy from us anyway. I think Google's Engravers Guild discount codes comes to some site that has got some affiliate partnership with us that they've signed on to. And so they're taking 10% of the sale on top of the X% that we've had to put aside for marketing costs as well. And so we're essentially just a charity of 10% of our entire turnover to these AWIN scam, these AWIN partners, which so we've actually closed down our affiliate marketing channels as well, as we didn't think we were deriving any value from them either. So what other channels are there? Email. We've given more effort on email in the last couple of years. Again, we took on an agency for that to begin with. They set up the flows for us. But then, I think that it comes back to the same problem I raised earlier, in that people aren't, unless you've got an occasion to buy a gift for, because we are purely a gifting destination, you're not gonna buy it. Okay, if you've got like fashion accessories or something, you might always be open to a new t-shirt or something. If they don't get you today, they could get you next week or the week after. Whereas, how many people do you buy a gift for every year? I'd say, at a push, 6, probably at a push. And unless you hit them, probably within a 72-hour window that they are considering purchasing a gift for that person, it's just wasted emails. So we struggled on getting a good return on our emails. And when you build the agency fee on top of that, it just was not cost effective. So we've had to finish our relationship with an email agency as well. We do continue them, but we do it in-house now. And I would say that it's an important stream of revenue for us, but it's probably harder then you might think at first to make sure that even though it is generating money for you, that it is generating profit for you. So that's kind of pretty much my summary on all those channels, unless there's another one that I've missed, if you can think of.
Well, I guess influencer marketing could be another one, but
Yeah.
but my view based on everything you've told me is, and I looked at your social media. I think, because your business comes across a little bit more of a luxury kind of products business. I mean, the products are really nice, and it gives a more of a luxury feel to it. I think social media can probably, something to test would be having actually a person who's kind of course, you need a little bit of a sales minded person who can be kind of the model and talk through so I think what I've seen other brands do well is, rather than just really just putting the picture there, it's like you're kind of modeling the product, or you're talking through it, and you're making more of an interactive experience on the social media, so that I think that may probably give more view than, I think, because this is a consumer product, it may connect better with consumers. So I just think that could be an idea to test out. And I mean, you look like a model yourself. So I think maybe you want to give that a try.
Yeah, I mean, being a small business, you have to multitask and do the things yourself. And we have spoken about that as because I'm in business with my brother, one of us being the face. And I have to say, it is not something I want to do at all. So that's kind of what has brought a stop to that. But yeah, we might look at it again, especially around, in the lead up to Christmas. But yeah, it's not something I feel particularly comfortable doing. So that's probably why we haven't kind of explored it as much as we should have been able to do. But I think that's, an interesting point. If there's small businesses, if there's people, entrepreneurs who want to set up a business, I think if they can be the face of it, that is such an advantage. And really, that I think now is one of the only ways to try and compete against, bigger players and more established players, by bringing that personality to what you're trying to sell. So yeah, I completely take on board what you're saying.
Exactly. I know you mentioned that you're offering next day shipping, which is definitely a great thing. I think a great value proposition. Have you tested that actually increases your conversion rate? Or with a with a business like this, I mean, would the consumer be okay with waiting, let's say, 3 days to 5 days?
So we offer different delivery options. We make them pay more for next day delivery. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't cost us any more to send out a product faster in terms of materials, but there is definitely a hidden cost for us in terms of breaking a production flow and putting one item through on a faster service. So I think we've priced it about £15, which is maybe nearly $20. And people go for it because if you've got an emergency gift you've got to give, probably pay anything.
Yeah.
So we think that's reasonable.
Is your primary market right now really the UK, or are you selling, or have you explored the US or North American market at all, or Australian market?
Yeah. So before Brexit, we didn't do any activity in Europe, but we would always have a few sales every day ticking over. And this is and when I say before Brexit, I mean before there was the breakup of the free trade area. So I can't remember when that was, but like 2021 or something. And our product mix at the time was fairly limited. So we would definitely be pushing it now. So I think that has cost us thousands of pounds of sales every year, unfortunately. And we've tried, selling into Europe now. It's just so hard. And actually, even the courier companies come to us and go, "Oh, just don't bother going to Europe. It's just too much effort." So we do sell some stuff to America, but only a very limited range, because our items, they range from being really small to really quite large. And so we've just kept it basically to jewelry, as it's a standard package size and standard charge and standard weight and standard commodity code and all that sort of stuff. And at the moment, we've got no real aspirations to kind of broaden that, our mix. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. So UK will definitely be our focus.
How big is your team right now?
I think there's sort of 9 or 10 of us.
Oh, that's still pretty decent size team.
Yeah, so there's 3 of us in the office, there's 5 in production, and there's 1 sort of online who works remotely. And then we've got a few people who come in and help as and when required.
In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made. Well, before I go into that, I wanted to quickly ask you about your sourcing. Are you sourcing primarily? I mean, you do sell a lot of brand products, so you have built relationships with brands, and then for your own brand product that you are creating, I'm assuming you're working with China and Chinese factories for that.
Yeah, so pretty much Alibaba,
Okay,
like everybody else, and just get lots of samples made and try and establish decent relationships. I mean, it is crazy how most of my interaction with China is done over WhatsApp. And I always think, if that one person left that company, which has happened on a few occasions, it's almost back to square one.
wow.
Yeah. But that's, seems to be the way it's gone for us.
Have you managed that completely, sitting in the UK? Have you ever visited any of those factories, like built relationships with them or something?
No, well, especially going through COVID, no, we weren't traveling. No, I've never visited any of our production facilities in the Far East. No.
Okay. In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. Since you've started your business, what has been some of the, maybe a big mistake or failure or, learning that you could have done without, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from it?
Yeah, so I think that one of the traps that's really easy to fall into as an entrepreneur is to look at a business that's existing at the moment and think, I could do that, but I could even maybe do that a little bit better, and then attempt to try and recreate it and jostle in on the market. And what you ignore is that the conditions of the market when that business started were entirely different to when you're trying to start, what you're doing now. And we made that mistake. We thought that, we personalize things really nicely and we've got a great collection of jewelry. Why don't we spin out our own jewelry proposition that's branded and sell that? And it was a complete disaster. Not because we so much couldn't sell it, but jewelry is definitely more, you buy into it. It's a bit more personal, I think, when you're buying it, especially for yourself. And the companies that we were going to try and compete with, who started sort of 5 years before us, their kind of cost per acquisition, the cost per acquisition now is probably 10 to 15 times higher. And they already had a community of maybe 100, 200,000, maybe even 250,000 people that they were already selling to and able to hit those selling points and building in those marketing costs. And we didn't get anywhere close. So we lost a lot of money doing that, and a lot of effort and a lot of time. So I think, really understand what the drivers of success are and how they might have changed from when you're doing a competitive analysis or something like that.
Definitely. I mean, timing is huge.
Yeah. It is.
Now
timing
move on to
is often luck. Like when I started the business, there was very little calculation about it other than desire and hunger to try and make something work. But looking back now, I understand that we were fortuitous for being in a market that was, ready for entrants like us, where I just don't think that if I tried to enter this market now, I would get anywhere. It's just, I think it's too hard, but I'm sure I'll be proved wrong by some great mind.
Well, I think, with these kind of products, the only way, or the only way somebody could really gain an advantage is like through really innovative market, like great marketing.
That and a technology revolution that we're not quite, aware of yet. Nobody really knows how AI is going to disrupt the industry. And then that, brings great opportunity. I just wonder, though, whether there will be a revolution like there was, the digital revolution and the Instagram revolution, where you could build $1 million business on 24 photos posted on Instagram of something sat beside a coffee cup. There was basically zero cost and zero expenditure there, which is unique. I wonder whether the next technology revolution will be quite as accessible as that one. Maybe it will. I mean, AI is bringing, access to, copywriters and designers, for practically free. So perhaps it will do. But if it's like content, where, a lot of the future of e-com will be in content, I believe, the cost to create content is just going up and up and up and up to create content that's watchable and worthy. So you're going to have those two forces at play, which will be really interesting over the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, Apple is just or will be coming out with the their VR headset, which seems like it's a new interface and seems to give like a different experience. I wonder how that's going to impact the whole way people interact with computing and things like that. So I mean, who knows? Maybe that could be a game changer. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I know. But then you think, if you have to digitally render in 3D detail every product that you're listing on your website, unless there's an affordable way to do that, it's going to be very hard for the small player to compete against the Nikes and the Adidases. And then you're going to get this 2-tier e-com environment, and one of them will just fall by the wayside. So yeah, great change comes great opportunity, but hopefully it will be an accessible opportunity for us small guys.
For sure. Now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them maybe in a word or a sentence or so. The first one is one book recommendation for entrepreneurs and why.
I would choose Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's a pretty, often cited book. It's good for me because I think I can overthink things a bit too much. And the book encourages you to trust your body and your mind more and just focus on like the big objective you're trying to achieve, rather than trying to kind of micromanage every aspect of a business and your own sort of personal development.
An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about? I know you mentioned AI, but anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to AI and the new glasses that are being developed by Apple and things. I mean, they look really cool, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
So I'm going to steal a productivity tip that I heard from somebody else. I can't remember who said it, but I thought it was really good, which is that if you're trying to manage or run a business and there are people working for you, you shouldn't have a laptop, you shouldn't have a computer, you should only have a tablet, because all you're doing is you're reviewing, commenting, feeding back on other people's work. Whereas if you go in with your computer or you sit down at your desk, you're going to be working invariably. Whereas you should have no desk, you should have no computer, you should just have a tablet. And that's not something I practice at the moment, but I would love to get there. As you know, I think the trap that so many entrepreneurs fall into is they just get bogged down by the operation of the business as opposed to the growing of it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting advice. I mean, I've definitely heard some great entrepreneurs like Richard Branson and others also, who basically they don't even have a tablet. They basically have a notebook, and they're basically prioritizing every day what they're working on, and that's kind of it's really about delegation, and then they're really working on the big items.
Mm.
So very very interesting advice. A startup or business in e-commerce, retail, or tech that you think is currently doing great thing? Any other business that you like?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick a UK business. It's called Arne, Arne. It's a menswear fashion brand. And I think they're one of the generation of e-com brands that have been started in the last 5 years that have got opportunity to become one of the like mainstream established players in a retail landscape, which moves beyond just online. I think there's Gymshark, which is from the UK, but has also crossed into the States a bit. And I think that these are really nimble and agile brands that just build incredible communities around what they're offering. And they're so laser focused in what they do. So Arne is a brand that I admire at the moment. And yeah, I love their work.
Awesome. A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
So I will go for Ryan Reynolds at this moment because I like his out of the box approach to creating businesses. But I'm also envious that he is able to, just be an orchestrator from day one because he's coming from a position of, incredible wealth already. But kind of what he's doing with that is really exciting and really cool. So, if we can all become more Ryan Reynolds like, that'll be a good thing for business.
Definitely, yeah, I completely agree. Like, yeah, he's turned out to be more of an entrepreneur than an actor now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
final question: best business advice you ever received, or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
So I would say, um, for an entrepreneur, it's easy to get sucked in by big blue sky thinking. But probably what's more important, especially for your survival and when finances are tight, is what can you do today to add value to your business today? I remember when I was just started Engravers Guild, and it was we got some early traction, but it wasn't enough to build a career on or build a living or anything like that. And I maybe got a bit of cold feet, and I thought, and somebody approached me, just cold. Oh, you can sell your business for X amount. Click here to learn more, and I did. And somebody came round and valued the business. They valued it at basically nothing. Which was what I expected. But what it did was it changed my mindset to think, well, imagine if I got this guy to come around to my business in 1 year's time, 1 year to the day from today.
Mm.
What is it I can do in every intervening day to get my business to be worth more when he comes and visits me again? And for that next year, everything I tried to do would be something that added a value to the business. Wasn't just thinking, a background color on my website or something. Yeah, long term that might be good, but I needed something that was going to make me money. And so that would be my advice. What can you do to your business today to make value today?
Very, very good advice. I mean, you almost have to think like a hustler, right? It's like the hustler mindset. How can you sell? How can you actually make the money rather than think on a very high level. Well, Elliot, those were all the questions that I had. Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed speaking with you. Thanks for sharing your story, and thanks for sharing your business insight, your successes and failures. If anybody wants to get your products, what is the best way to do that?
Simply logging on www.engraversguild.co.uk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elliot, again for your time, and wish you all the very best in your business.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.